WandaVision, WandaVision.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Soup. Just the Nerd Soup podcast, I guess. It could still be considered that. I am Beau Oliver, here with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and Teddy, and we are here to record our review for WandaVision. Spoiler discussion. Get more into the first two episodes. We were lucky enough to get the first two of a 9-episode season, and the response on the internet has been mostly positive. It was positive from myself and Aaron. Ted, what did you think about the first two episodes of WandaVision?
It's positive for me too. You know, there's
not
a whole lot to go off of though, because unless you're big into comic books and huge into the lore, I think this show is a lot of Easter eggs and subliminals, because a lot of these first two episodes, and I guess for the rest of the show, is going to be what Marvel is doing or what's going on in her head. You know, it's going to take show to show to figure out what's going on. You can't really speculate too much on the show.
Well, there are definitely some things that we didn't miss necessarily, but we really didn't get into on the regular review because we're lazy. We got to get these reviews.
Is it though? Because I feel like a lot of it's like little Easter eggs just to show you that like we're in this world.
Well,
you know?
I think we're just stupid.
We could be.
Yeah, maybe. Well, there are certain things that
Don't put a Band-Aid over this.
There are certain things that like knowledge of the comic book world helps a lot, especially with the Agnes character, some symbols that pop up and some other little things that maybe if you're just a fan of the movies you see and kind of like, oh, that's cool. Whereas other people might be like, oh, that could be foreshadowing something else. This from the comics or that. I know a big one was the sword logos.
Right, and I don't even want to look into it. That's the thing. Somebody mentioned that on Twitter, that logo is not Hydra or S.H.I.E.L.D., it's Sword.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, this is something from the comics, and I'm going to... Even the trailer that's been running on ESPN, when... Spoilers, it shows them in the real world. I'm like...
It's a trailer.
Yeah, but I just don't want to know anything. That's the thing. I don't want to know anything. I want it all to be given to me. I want to enjoy it in that way.
Well, Sword is like a counter-terrorist from the extraterrestrials. So
It's part of S.H.I.E.L.D. though, isn't it? I'm pretty sure Sword is part of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I think I read...
Sword and S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, I read up on something that Nick Fury is part of Sword now, and they're up in space.
Right, okay. I love how I'm like, I don't want to know about it. And you're like, let's start at the beginning. Sword was founded and created. And you're like, Nick Fury is part of Sword.
No,
it's inevitable.
Yeah.
That's the thing. With the universe, there's so many... There are
so
a
many
lot
avenues
of
you
answers.
can go down.
Right, yeah. And it's easy to put it all together. And I think the fact that they're going for this kind of surrealist atmosphere for the show where things aren't as they seem, you have to credit them. Even because they know that fans are going to be active on the internet trying to put everything together. And like you said, a lot of this comes from the comics. But actually hearing about Nick Fury operating with Sword, because Nick Fury's still there, you know? He's there post-Endgame, and you would think that...
Well, he's with the Skrulls.
Right, he's with the Skrulls, and he was also... But that's the thing, he's with the Skrulls, but he was at Tony Stark's funeral, right? So the Skrull stuff
that was Ben Mendelsohn.
You got to pop up to that, though.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was probably Ben Mendelsohn, right. Yeah, he just... can you drop me off at Earth for just a few hours? I got a wake to attend.
But so that's why this show definitely benefits from the talk week to week instead of dropping it all at once, because I think this show will just get like what Cobra Kai did. They'll get the week's talk, and that's it.
Cobra Kai.
Hey, don't hate on Cobra Kai. A lot of people like Cobra Kai.
You know, they drop all of them in a week. In a day, then the talk's over in a week. You know, this show isn't that huge where I think it could benefit from the whole season dropping.
Yeah, definitely.
It needs a leg to stand on.
I think what streaming services are realizing is that they have to go to the weekly model.
The discourse is huge, too.
Yeah, it's just better for business. I mean, even Queen's Gambit got a lot of discourse, but imagine if that was week to week, speculating on if she's going to win her match or what's going to happen next. And some of the cliffhangers for Queen's Gambit were so good. But yeah, with WandaVision, it's a show, like we said, it may be easy for some of us to connect the dots because we're so familiar with the universe, and some are even more familiar with the comics. But the week-to-week drops will get the discourse revved up and have people excited for the next releases.
Right. And this, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, like how it was kind of a risk for Marvel. I don't think, I mean, the way it worked out, this now is the first MCU Disney Plus show. And it is something that is a little out there. So
it's definitely different, dude. This is...
Yeah, and I think that's what we wanted to see from this, and especially Marvel going forward, is try to experiment with some different things, get weirder, you know? We're definitely going to get that with Doctor Strange, and everything from Spider-Man 3 seems to be a little bit out there, so it's paying off so far. I thought these first two episodes were just fun to watch. And like you said, there is so much intrigue there because we know that what we see is not real, or, you know, there are other things at play. So I think you made this point, you're enjoying it for its kind of take on classical television sitcoms, and then you realize, well, Wanda's probably in a lot of fucking trouble. Vision's dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And they did a good job with the homage, where they just weren't presenting this style of TV. It's the 1950s. It's a sitcom. But that's it. We're not going to try and be clever or unique. We're just going to riff on the cliches. But you made this point that they, to steal your point, they were doing 1950s I Love Lucy better than I Love Lucy.
They were, but it was funnier.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if it's just us from laughing. Like, if this our humor, like, is it funny because like we're watching it now? Because do you find those older shows funny if you watch it? I
That's
really
what-
don't.
We love the characters and we know the universe. So when
Yeah.
they make a joke like, my husband and his indestructible head, like, oh,
Yeah.
Thanos crushed your head.
Well, even when he's listening to Yakety Yak and they're like, do you get this? And he's like, oh, the lyrics or the word. I forget what joke he makes,
Yeah.
but it was funny. It's funny humor.
Paul Bettany is funny. I like the way he brings his comedy in. His accent and everything about him is funny.
Yeah, I mean, him swallowing that piece of gum, and even the animation of the gum
Yeah.
stopping his bolts from turning. That was a really funny physical performance by Paul Bettany.
I'll tell you what, those commercials, it made me want to go to watch. Those commercials were different, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes you feel less of a man if you don't have that watch.
It's an old school way of selling shit.
Yeah.
With
Just shitting on you.
Yeah, the narrator.
You're not cool if you don't have the watch.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not cool.
And somebody made a point on Twitter that the Stark toaster and the watch, they were kind of the highlights of Wanda's journey to this point right now.
Right.
The Stark missile killing her parents and Strucker, the way that he manipulated her and her brother, giving her powers.
Oh, hearing that fucking the beam.
Yeah, the
That sound from
repulsor
the
beam.
Yeah, that was sick.
There is something interesting too. I kind of saw someone just brought up this point, and I kind of
Student it?
tried to think of my own explanation. But we do see in Age of Ultron that Scarlet Witch is able to, I guess, manipulate like what she does with Thor and Iron Man and Cap, where she's able to use mind control and put them in some other world in their head.
Right, yeah, we totally forgot about that.
So maybe she's doing that to some people around her, because we didn't really touch on this, but Monica Rambeau, that character, she is in Captain Marvel. She is the daughter of...
Is that Agnes? Monica? Who's that? What character is that?
She's
wow, she's the
Yeah.
Captain Marvel's friend's daughter.
Yes.
Right.
She's the character that they do the magic trick on.
Oh,
and she
right,
comes out of the
right.
box.
Monica. Okay.
So that's someone who exists in the real reality that we know of, because that's like the only character besides Vision and Wanda that we've seen in the outside MCU.
Right.
Did it seem like you guys...
Maybe she's, I don't know.
This is why I didn't
Yeah.
want to read cast lists, because you get the character name and then you make the connection to Captain
Right.
Marvel. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. Captain Marvel's set in the 90s and now she's an adult. I'm wondering
Maybe
if
she's manipulating people in the real world in this to like create her alternate world.
I
Right.
saw one post that... Where was Camp Lee David? Because they're saying that this might be set in Jersey. And I think Camp Lee or Lehigh, wherever it is.
Oh, they got to do a Sopranos episode then.
it may be,
Yeah.
because
There's so many
it's
theories in this fucking show, man.
the
It's
camp
crazy.
that they go back to get the Tesseract in Endgame. Yeah, where Steve Rogers was trained. Maybe.
Did it seem like every time she started, I guess, becoming conscious, she would get distracted? Is that like a right assumption? She would start to realize what she's doing?
Yeah, it's almost like she was almost breaking from
The
this-
loop that she's in, or that she
Yeah.
wants to be in?
but then they snap right back into
Yeah.
it. So I would assume those just get more intense as the episodes go on.
I'm dying to know who was saying Wanda who's doing this to you, or on the radio, or if that was just like her imagining that.
Well, I wonder now if Wanda could be seen as the villain. If she is manipulating all these people to create her perfect world, maybe she's holding these people against their will. And like you mentioned, every
Maybe.
time that she kind of snaps back into reality, someone just barges in and kind of brings her back into that world,
Yeah.
like Agnes or Dottie or any of these characters. So yeah, I wonder if she's the one kind of holding these people against their wills to create this fantasy.
Well, at the end, when the beekeeper comes, I was looking up, that beekeeper isn't anybody, isn't an actor. He's just like a stuntman. So that beekeeper wasn't anyone. It was just like her. It was another reason for her to break reality. And then she just said no, and then rewinds everything.
Right, and at the end of the episode, she is pregnant. So it
Yeah.
looks like they're going to introduce the kids, and the kids have been in the comics.
Even that, for the children, it's creepy, man. Eerie.
Yeah, and the beekeeper, I guess maybe that's just symbolism.
Yeah.
Like somebody's watching over them, and what do beekeepers do? They manage bees
Keep
and they help
bees.
them produce honey, or they sell them.
Make
So-
children.
Yeah. Maybe there's some motive here, some evil motive by
The show's
somebody.
just the larger metaphor for the bees dying at an alarming rate.
That is true, man. When Thanos snapped, dude, half of those bees, that kills all of
Isn't
humanity.
that huge? Aren't bees like like
are
monstrous.
Very important. Very important. And obviously all the performances from the leads and the supporting characters really stand out. We talked about Catherine Hahn as Agnes in the first episode, but hitting all those cliches with the boss and the boss's wife and preparing the dinner. That first episode was, I think the second episode was a little funnier for me and a little stranger, but the first episode was just such a great start.
Yeah, no, they were all great. They really kind of captured the essence of those early sitcoms in their performances, and I think I said this on the other review that this is the most I've enjoyed Vision, and Paul Bettany's performance kind of brings that character to life. Obviously, they're playing different characters in this world, right? Because this is not how Wanda and Vision act in the real world, but they're able to kind of, I don't know, flesh these characters out more, but through different means. Like, even though it's not it's an alternate version of themselves, you can still pick up things on their relationships and how they would really interact with each other and how they feel about each other in the real world. And yeah, we talked about this too. Catherine Hahn is she's perfect.
Right.
She's great. And there's a lot of mystery surrounding that character. I don't know if you want to know about that, but...
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I've seen her in that trailer where she's talking about the Avengers, so...
Yeah, but in terms of bigger comic book shit, so... It's interesting to see how all that plays out.
Hey, you know what's funny? I don't know if you guys noticed in the second episode, after Vision had to go into his stomach to get the, whatever it was out.
The gum.
The gum? No. When the boss, Mr. Hart, choked.
Oh, right.
He wasn't in the second episode next to his wife. So it's I wonder if he knows. My theory is that they know. They're in a town like the Truman Show. And now Mr. Hart knows Vision's power, so he took him out to try and break them.
Yeah, I don't
he
hate
wasn't,
that theory, yeah.
I was looking, I was in the audience, you saw Mrs. Hart, and Mr. Hart wasn't next to her.
Right, at the talent show, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And there was an emphasis on performing the talent show for children, but there are no children in the first or second episode. So that kind of makes sense. That goes to the theory that these people are being manipulated or they're in some sort of trance, whether it's simulation or Wanda's powers or a combination of both. Yeah, and a strong emphasis on kids. Like we said, they're pregnant at the end. So I wonder if there's some sort of end game where somebody wants to see if Wanda and Vision can have kids. I don't know if they would go that dark. Like there's an evil person out there that wants to create a half android, half supernatural being. But we've seen in some of the trailers, that they're going for the 1970s sitcom vibes with the kids, where you see Vision in those overalls and the flannel.
Dude, a Wanda and a Vision kid would be a body.
That's what I said. It would be like LeBron James and Serena having a kid. Just an absolute fucking boss. Elizabeth Olsen, too, like you mentioned, they're fish out of water even in the modern setting. Elizabeth Olsen coming as an orphan, coming over to the West, and Paul Bettany's Vision just being a fucking robot. So they've been trying to fit into this world for a long time, and that's why I think it was kind of seamless to put them in this setting where, once again, they're trying to fit in the 1950s setting. But yeah, they're a bit more giddy in this episode, bit more in these episodes, bit more chippy. Elizabeth Olsen's just got the perfect face for that era. She looks like one of those classic black and white Hollywood stars.
Yo, so does Paul Bettany.
Yeah, they kind of
Vision. They both do.
Yeah, they fit that era, and they did a good job of even Catherine Hahn. That's someone who looks like she could have been in one of those shows back in the day.
But why go? I just want to know why go back to this time if you're Wanda. If this is her
mind,
why
it's
go
the
back to
ideal.
The ideal time to live, I guess.
Yeah, it's the ideal relationship. The white picket fence, the suburbs, the...
Nice house.
Yeah, nice house, easy living. There's never ever any drama.
Right.
I mean, compared to what she's been going through, right, in the movies.
It's like social drama, not even no world drama.
Right, yeah. It's like all the shit that Seinfeld just canceled out when they made their sitcom,
When I first watched this, when I first turned this episode on, I kind of forgot where this was set. So for a second, I thought that this is when they both ran off. And this is what their life was like, or what she wanted to be like, and their charisma together is perfect. They just look so in love, and it's great to see them finally happy.
Well, yeah, they lucked out by getting two actors to just have on-screen chemistry, because people complain about how they don't have a lot of screen time. But even in that first interaction when he comes to life and she's looking at him, you could tell that they're eventually going to establish a relationship. Or when he saves her in Age of Ultron, it's a great shot. He's carrying her and she's passed out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, they seem just happy together. So it feels nice for us, but it sucks that it's all going to come crashing down.
It's so sad watching Endgame now, seeing him die, and how much she loved him.
Infinity War,
I'm sorry. Yeah. It's fucked up.
Yeah,
I wanted him just dead. I wanted to just destroy the stone.
Yeah,
now it's
like
no,
in that
don't
moment,
die.
it is emotional because of the performances where they're telling each other,
yeah.
I'm always going to be with you. And it's like, well, we've barely seen you guys together.
Exactly.
I'll take your word for
There's
it.
more weight on it now.
Right, yeah. Now there's actions and there's interactions, actual development.
Isn't it crazy all this talk? But both episodes were just like cliche throwaway episodes. And there's all this talk about lore and what's going to happen with them. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of genius.
Just the way you can play off pretty much anything.
Yeah, I mean, it relies on, doesn't rely on it, but the audience's knowledge of the MCU and where these characters are right now adds to it. It's not like...
I think it does rely on it, though, because you're kind of lost, no? If you don't know anything about these. But then again, I guess you're not watching it if you're not really a fan of Marvel, right?
Yeah, and like some shows or movies, the surrealism is kind of, sometimes it just comes out of nowhere. And it's a little jarring. It's like, oh, this is what I'm watching here. Sometimes it's not as subtle, but you know what it is from the get-go. But with this one, the way they use the surrealism is like, you know that it already is not like a dreamlike, not real. And they kind of use that to kind of bring you back to the real world.
Right.
So it's like you're expecting it, but it's still done well. And
when's it gonna happen? That's the big question.
Yeah, and you're waiting for it because that helps.
I'm on
push
the edge of my
the
seat.
Story forward in terms of what is actually happening to these characters.
Yeah, and it's such a genius kind of juxtaposition with the surrealism and the 1950s sitcom setting, where you're trying to watch and see how they can pull this off. That is the comedy going to be funny? Is it going to feel like an actual sitcom, or is it going to feel like superheroes trying to pretend they're in a sitcom? And it feels like two different shows at time. Like at one moment you're watching a sitcom about a robot and a witch, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, no, this is attached to the MCU. There's something sci-fi going on here.
They're conscious
there's
of what's
fantasy.
going on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a perfect way to kind of blend genres. And that's why, I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, so I don't want to call it genius yet. We'll see how it wraps up. But it's just a genius premise, the fact that they're going in this direction for Marvel. I was telling Cam the other day that you need to watch it because it's unlike anything the MCU has done.
It really isn't.
I mean, people have made sitcoms in the past, and of course, people have made surrealist shows, but I just appreciate when creatives want to mesh together genres like this, and we're seeing more of that.
No, I would say that this is a risk because, like you just said, it's not like any other MCU. So if they don't hit on this, obviously these guys don't want to miss, and then it's a waste of a show. So I think that's why this is a risk, and I think right now, so far it's paying off.
Yeah, it is their first show. And it is so different. You think, oh, Marvel's first show, it's going to be an action epic.
Huge. Yeah.
Like Captain America.
Well, I think that was
Winter
supposed
Soldier.
to be first.
Right, that was supposed to be first. So, and you would think that that's the way they would want to do it, right? Draw people
Open up with a
in.
bang,
Yeah, open with a bang. It's going to have a huge budget. It's going to look just like the movies. And then check out WandaVision. Look at this. It's something completely different, where it's going to be action-oriented towards the end, but the beginning, the setup, is going to be unlike anything you've seen from Marvel. And credit to them because the comics have been doing this for a long time. We always clap and cheer when the movies go in weird directions. They've got a bunch of material that they can grab from when it comes to Wanda and Vision. And we've mentioned it. People have mentioned certain stories with them in relationships with their kids, and I've mentioned the Tom King Vision comic, which gets really dark and very existential. So credit to them. Hopefully they continue down this weird path with their other shows. And Doctor Strange, maybe Doctor Strange will be Lynchian.
Do you think this hurts them, though, because they are going from comics and they might not attract an everyday viewer? Or do you think their fan base is big enough where it can just survive something like this, where just the Marvel fan base watches on Disney+? It's
weird because it's no guarantee that your superhero movie is going to be good, right?
Right.
I mean, we went decades where it was consistently trash superhero movies. Marvel comes around, everyone they make is good, and now people complain, well, they're all cookie cutter. They're all the same.
Yeah.
And now they're doing something completely different, and you're like, wait, they may lose their fans that they've all...
No, I'm not saying they're going to lose their fans. I'm saying that they might not be generating more fans from this show.
Right. No, it's a good question. I think it's a valid question. I don't think they will, though. I think, like you said, they've built in so much goodwill where I think we can allow them to take this type of risk. Yeah. I've already heard it, though, from not casual fans, but casual fans, that they'll watch this and be like, what the fuck is this? Cam actually came to me and was like, oh, I heard WandaVision's ass. I was like, whoa, where did you hear that from? But probably people on his story, people that aren't interactive on film, Twitter, don't follow all the Marvel accounts. Like,
I've heard nothing but good.
This
personally.
isn't Marvel.
Yeah.
This is something... They're not even prepared for the surrealism. They don't know which direction the show is going to go in, which I kind of like that more. that they're fooling some of the casual fans and driving them away, hey, I mean,
don't say.
Right. That's it. I think when it revs up towards the end, people are going to be like, "Oh, what did I miss out on?"
Stay for the long haul.
It seems to be pretty popular.
Yeah. I don't like, though, how like the Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb scores. They're good, but I find it odd that people can post that when critics can give their score after only 3-episode screeners. It's like for a series. I'm like, you don't post.
Those guys don't have the whole season?
I think they only get the first 3.
Oh.
I don't know, this is like unrelated. It's like, but while we're talking about reception to the show, I always found that interesting with television shows because you don't rate a movie halfway through.
Yeah, it is weird. You can't go by that anymore.
I know it's good. It's good for like I guess an initial push, like it's like promising, but I feel like those scores stay.
I think the score does change. I think it does change.
Okay.
Because all the Game of Thrones scores are based on the scores of the individual episodes and then the average.
Okay.
And I know it's the same thing, but I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
So
it's a shame we didn't get those screeners.
Personally, for both of you,
I would have gave it a 10.
For both of you, would you guys have rather the drop of all the episodes, or would you rather have the week to week? Not talking about discourse or just you personally. Would you rather have them all, or would you rather go week to week?
Yeah, well, I'd rather have them all.
Well, I think the discussion is why it's part of the reason why I prefer the weekly drops.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm waiting for episode 3. Like I want to know where they're going with this.
I do like the discussion, but at the end of the day, I want it all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have binge watched the whole season.
But I don't know. I think it's better for Disney Plus. I think it's better for the fandom. I think it's better for the property that you get these weekly drops.
I'm looking forward to the other sitcoms they try to satire.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what they're going to do with that. They did what? Dick Van Dyke, Bewitched, and I Love Lucy so far?
Yeah.
Well, I think they said like Full
House. Fucking sitcom genius over here.
They're going to do like Full House, like Modern Family, so...
Okay.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see that going forward.
They need to do a Seinfeld, right? They probably won't. Because Seinfeld is basically what they're doing. Just takes the piss out of the genre. And they're not necessarily taking the piss out of it, but...
I mean, 90s, what else are you going to do? That was the sitcom in the 90s.
Fresh Prince.
Friends.
Full House. Didn't you just say they were going to do Full House?
Full House was 90s?
Yeah. Because Seinfeld is the anti-sitcom. I would love it if they did a Seinfeld. Where it's just a story about complete nonsense.
What's the sitcom with Steve Urkel?
Family Matters.
Family Matters, yeah. And then the one with the neighbors, the single guy with the 3 girls, I think it was.
I think that's a different
video
that's
you watched.
Three's Company too?
Yeah, there you go.
We just rattled off 9 sitcoms from the 90s. Right. Yeah, no, that's going to be exciting to see. Because the humor changes, obviously, like we've seen. The generations change.
Well, even like the fourth wall break or the talking to the camera. That's going to be fun.
Right. You think they're going to do that like the mockumentary, almost just individual interviews?
Yeah, I think they're going to do like Office, Modern Family type.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a staple of modern television sitcoms in the last decade. So
just them talking shit about each other. That's actually going to be really funny.
Yeah.
Oh, it was funny.
It's a tall task, man, because you have to be consistently funny and change your style of comedy. And like I said, it can't just come off as a wink and a nod. It has to be genuinely funny, or else people are going to get tired of that. Because we don't want to just see a 30-minute of them tackling all the cliches. No, you have to be unique. You have to be clever.
And you got to bring the story in. That's the toughest part, I think.
Right, yeah, no, you have to. And it's funny. There's a critic I follow on Twitter, and he said that he had heard from an inside source months ago that WandaVision was going to be this weird and progressively get even stranger. So if the real story continues to get stranger and stranger, it's going to be kind of more difficult, I would presume, to balance the comedy and that simmering story. So far, they've done such a great job, so I'm confident they'll continue to do that, but it will be interesting to watch.
At this point, I think it's going to be weird when we see them use their powers, if they ever do use their powers. Like, right. For real, and fight or anything.
Even Aaron just bringing up that she can change the mind of people and change their reality. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, when they start bringing in the real powers, especially Vision, even though they kind of nerf him in every movie.
They fucking nerfed the hell out of him, and it annoys me.
He's always getting nerfed.
I want to say...
Well, now he's got his kryptonite. It's just gum.
Yeah. A standout funny... I just want to make this point. Not even a point, just a statement. A standout funny supporting character was Dottie's husband. I think he was hilarious. When he got fired, and he was making his box.
Oh, that was Dottie's husband, right?
Yeah.
That was funny, dude.
I thought 5 courses would be sufficient.
And he wore a turtleneck, right? It's like your beatnik outfit. I wore a turtleneck. Yeah, that was really good. And I mentioned this on the other review when Vision asks, "What do we do here?" It's like, I don't know. It's like, do we make anything? Nope. Do we buy anything? Nope.
He just sits down and starts going back to his typewriter.
Yeah. It's like, all right, I guess I'll just sit down at the old desk. And I watched a movie from the 50s a couple weeks ago, and it was that guy's job. He worked as a cosmetic salesman. It was the same exact office that Vision was in.
Really?
In WandaVision. Yeah, it was so funny. And all the men with their suits and their cigarettes and all competing who's got the most sales and shit like that. So, yeah, they did a really good job with that. And the magic show, I mean, we mentioned this on the other review, her trying to make up for all of his mistakes as he was drunk.
Yep.
Like the mirrors and the rope. That was really funny.
He was low-key drunk, I think, because he played drunk really well.
You think that he just got fucking lit?
He could have been. He was fucking funny.
Paul Bettany just
he
ripping
was believable,
shots.
man.
Yeah. It's hard to play a drunk.
It has to, yeah.
A lot of times they don't get drunk, but I would. Just like I'm a method
why not,
actor.
right?
I'm a method actor.
Yeah.
No, yeah, they don't get drunk.
I know.
They don't even let them smoke real cigarettes on movie sets, right? It's mostly fake cigarettes.
What are they puffing on?
What are those like? Aren't those like smoking like candy cigarettes?
Yeah, it's like
still
candy
around?
cigarettes, yeah. I think the smoke is CGI.
No.
On Goodfellas, the only person who was allowed to smoke real cigarettes was Ray Liotta.
He would be.
Yeah.
Scorsese wanted him to smoke real cigarettes.
Now he's now he's on Chantix commercials.
You know, it's a shame Marissa wasn't on this review. She's supposed to be on it, but
Did you come?
I edited her name out of the outro when we were like, this will feature Marissa. Did you notice that?
No.
It just says our spoiler discussion dropping this week. I was like, let me edit this out just in case she doesn't show up.
She didn't show.
No, she didn't. She pulled a vision.
Oh yeah, I
bonus.
wasn't supposed to be here. I forgot about that.
You're a miracle baby.
Yeah.
Look at that. All right, guys, that is our review for WandaVision episodes 1 and 2, and we will be back over the next few weeks to review some WandaVision episodes. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that, and comment your thoughts on the first 2 episodes below.
Am I on the next one?
Yeah, probably.
Sweet.
I mean, I'm going to call Marissa. She's not going to answer, and then I'm going to call you and be like, what are you doing, Ted?
And I'll come like usual.
Well, would you look at that? It's finally over. Hey guys, Beau Oliver here for one final send-off. Now, before I beg you guys to like and share this video, I'd like to thank our very special Patreon pledgers. We are very proud of the community we've been able to build here at NerdSoup, and it would not have been possible without our Patreon supporters. You guys are the true MVPs of this channel. Everything I've said, you keep the fridge full, you keep the lights on. There aren't enough words to thank you guys, but we'll do it anyway. Thank you. And we have a few videos coming up that have been suggested to us by Patreon pledgers. My Hero Academia, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Full Metal Alchemist will be reviewed by Marissa, and yours truly, and Castlevania, which will be reviewed by Marissa and Aaron. And if you'd like to consider donating to our Patreon page, you can visit patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out some of the rewards we offer to our listeners. And really, we'd like to thank everyone who takes the time out of their day to watch our videos. Patreon pledger or not, your support is what keeps us motivated to keep giving the world our opinions on movies and TV shows and video games and pop culture, even though no one asked for it. We're still here, we're still yapping, and we hope you continue to join us. I'm Beau Oliver, and I support this message.